Josh here. Hey, it's working. All right. So we're going to see how this goes. Just so everyone knows, I got my little tablet here. I'm going to be using this because the goal is to interact with you and talk about basically the rule changes. Now, I know a lot's been happening, and I know some of you are going to be like, well, I want to talk about something else. And I can understand that. Okay, this thing's working. That's good. Oh, let me get up what I've got here. Good, good, good. Okay. All right. So yeah, this is it. You know, in terms of what I'm looking to do tonight, I really don't know. I am just gonna kind of talk about specifically the rule changes. That's what I really want to focus on now. If you want to talk about something else, I did try to get videos out about the other stuff. We can talk about that as well. But specifically looking at the rule changes. And for those of you who watch my channel, you know I'm trying to make a judge series. I actually postponed that after making the first video, specifically because this was probably coming in the near future, and I'm glad I did, because I did not want to have to refilm all of those videos to account for these major changes. So, in terms of that, just starting with those rule changes. Now, the big one is, obviously, sights can take damage. That really, overall, it wouldn't change a whole lot. You know, it's just damage. But there's a few cards that it really impacts. The big one is the vampire, and everyone's thrilled. And of all the cards out there, not all the cards, but of many cards out there, this card did not need a buff at all. Didn't need to happen, but it's buffed. And now it's going to be able to attack sights and heal you. That is wild. I really am surprised they decided to push that through, but they did. It does make some other cards a little bit interesting. Galahad, the Ravens. So, you know, those cards now are a little bit more interesting. It's like, well, maybe you can try something crazy with Blood Ravens. Galahad, obviously a lot of people are already thinking Galahad's going to be very useful in Gothic, and now his strikes are going to heal you as well. So that's pretty dang good. Now, the one thing that really suffered from this change is my beautiful, beloved Free City. And I am so sad that my Free City is, uh-oh. Okay, I hope not. Let's hope there's not weird audio. Okay, all right. Good, it's just you, Bruce. Okay, so in terms of my Free City, it's not working, so that's very unfortunate. Now, whenever it attacks and whenever it defends, if it takes a strike back, then there it is. That's the problem with that, and I think Free City is probably just going to fall off and not be used at all. So that's the one big change and that I really think everyone should be aware of. And it's funny what the community has focused on. That has been one of the big topics of discussion. The vampire can heal, damaging to sights. Other things that people have talked about, the dropping, the interaction with the realm. Right now we have this list. What is interacting with the realm? The big addition to that is casting a spell. So if you cast a spell, you are now interacting with the realm. That impacts a whole lot of cards in a lot of ways. So that was a very, very big change. It does prevent you from dropping things now. So in terms of dropping the Philosopher's Stone, you have your avatar uses it, drops it, another spellcaster picks it up to use it and gain the effect. That isn't happening anymore because you can't drop after you interact with the realm. So that was another big change there was a lot of focus on. What else was there? Let me go ahead and pull up my... So for the Codex, for those of you who have not checked out the Codex, this thing is absolutely wonderful. If you have not tried to use the Codex yet, I highly recommend it. And what I've been looking at mainly and just kind of going off of, if you type in CH, the very first thing that comes up is the change log. And so with the change log, you can kind of see all the major changes that just happened with this rule update. Now, in the future, this may not become as useful because there are going to be future rule updates, but for right now, this thing's amazing. You can go through the change log, you can kind of see all the changes. The other big change, Intercept. This one actually scares me a little bit. Everyone was kind of worried, especially those who have played the game regularly, who understands the purpose of Intercept. And everyone's like, well, Intercept never happens. Yes, it doesn't happen because people don't make those dumb mistakes. That's why Intercept didn't happen. But it was a very important rule to prevent moving around. So, all right, I'll come back to Free City. I can do that. But it would prevent that. So now, Intercept can only happen at the end of the move. Which means that something like Cloud City could fly across the board, fly over your ranged unit, and that ranged unit can't intercept it anymore, which is a huge change from what we had. So I think that units that have additional movement may start to have a little bit of higher value in terms of inclusion index. Now, the thing is, like, let's say, okay, that Cloud Spirit, it's moving across for some reason, and then, you know, it's flown over your defender that can defend for the avatar or whatever for some reason. The problem will be, is there enough space? So generally speaking, if, I don't even know how to explain this. Basically, I'm just concerned that there's being able to just fly over units, being able to move through units is going to allow you to get that death blow much more quickly. Now, maybe it won't. Maybe it's not as bad as I'm thinking, but that's kind of what I'm worried about. Hopping back to Free City. The reason Free City is such a big change, in the past, when Free City, under the prior rule set, when Free City attacked or when Free City defended, when it was struck back, nothing happened. It was just like, it was like this ever-living minion. It couldn't die. It was just there. It was always stuck to that site, but whenever you needed it to, it could pop up and it could deal 3. Whenever something came to attack it, it could pop up. And that's the thing, it would deal the 3, but if a 5-power minion was attacking the Free City, you took no damage because the Free City popped up and said, I'll deal you 3 damage back, which won't kill you, but it prevents any life loss. So that's answering that question. But now, when that 5-power minion comes to attack the 3-power Free City, the Free City, if it jumps up, it's going to deal 3, which won't kill the minion, and your avatar is going to lose 5 life because of that change, which didn't happen in the past. So that's what happened to Free City, and that's why, more than any other change, that one has really, really upset me. All right, let's see here. Have I missed any comments? No, I think I'm good. Okay. Yes, chase collectibles. Exactly. The Intercept change, especially with movement, it worries me that, you know, we're going to see shenanigans. But all that being said, that's fine. Now, the one thing that I don't feel like anyone's talking about, and I think it's because it really only impacts really high-level play and gets into real nitty-gritty details, are the changes to ongoing effects. I don't know if you guys have hopped in this section, but that's where I went first. Because as a judge, the thing that I have always run into and that is most problematic are ongoing effects and how they interact with each other. So looking at that section, if you have not, I highly recommend going over there, looking at the ongoing effects section, and I'm going to try to pull that up. Where is it at? Ongoing effects. Oh, passive ability, maybe that'll get me to it. Yeah, ongoing effects. So ongoing effects. this is what I am really worried about. When you look at this thing, there's a whole effects of order. And this has changed multiple times since I've been helping at sorcery events, how these things interact. And this is why it annoys me, because I get in place, okay, this is how this works. And the classic example I like to use is root spider and tide naiads. I think that's how you say it. Right? Tide naiads moves to the site with a root spider underneath. What happens? Who wins? Well, under the most recent rule set, the tide naiads won. Always. 100% of the time. Under the rule set prior to that, the root spider always won. Now, we're talking about timestamps. This is why I'm worried. So timestamps. So not only do we have an order, and that order is copy effects, control effects, so King of the Realm, Mesmerism. Copy effects are Mirror Realm, self-same. Control effects, King of the Realm, Mesmerism. Type changing effects, so Bower of Bliss, right? Those. Number 4 is wild. Ability adding and removing effects, disabling effects, and affinity changing effects. All those are all in the same line. And what really irked me when I read 4, I'm like, so what happens with root spider and tide naiads? Because they fall into 4. They're at the same time. Root spider is a disabling effect. Tide naiads is an affinity changing effect because it's adding water to that and flooding the site. And it's like, okay, so they're both at step 4, so who wins? Timestamps. So you have to remember for the entire game when these things came into play. So let's say turn 3, I drop a root spider. That root spider will win out over any other effect at level 4 because it's the earliest thing played. So a tide naiads played in turn 5 would try to move on and would be disabled. And vice versa. If the tide naiads were played turn 3, and then the root spider was 5, if the tide naiads moved onto the site with the root spider would die. So when I think about sorcery, long games of sorcery, how am I going to remember all these timestamps? Especially if a lot of pieces get on the board. Now, if the board stays relatively clean, then it's not going to be a problem. You're going to know when certain things came into play. But if it gets messy, that is what I am really worried about. And it's like, what's going to happen? You know, am I going to run around with a stamp? You played this card. It came in at 2. This card came in at 202. I can't do that. So players are really going to have to think about the time stamp of effects and keep that in mind. And I just know, I'm going to run into a game and people are going to be like, we don't remember the order. Well, I can't help you. Timestamps matter. This is why I think of all the changes, this is the one that, for me as a judge, is the most troubling because I have to rely on the player's memories of what happened in the game 10 turns ago. That's why I really worry about the ongoing effects. Now, going back to the ongoing effects, that wasn't all of them, right? There are 7 steps to this silly thing. So number 4, like we said, has the most. Number 5, power setting effects like shrink. Number 6, power addition and subtraction effects. And then number 7, power multiplication effects. So that is the order of precedence to do these things. And then, just to make it more confusing, at the very bottom, they throw in the, I love this last paragraph. I love it. I puzzled over it since this thing came out. An effect cannot remove itself once it's already being applied. Okay. For example, an animated silence aura will cause itself to lose in layer 4, but losing that ability will not remove the silence effect which was already being applied. Now, this is actually how it was working in the prior rule set. So this isn't a change. But man, that wording of that paragraph, I sat and just kept reading that, and I was like, yeah, I know what you're trying to say, and I know it because that's how we've been playing it, but I don't know. I think that's going to be very confusing to players. But again, these are kind of high-level things. So do they matter to the average player? Are they going to be something that really we're only going to deal with as a judge? Now, one of the things that did happen that was a big change, smokestacks. I've got smokestacks in play. You play your smokestacks next to my smokestacks. What happens? Under the prior rule set, there was the infinite loop breaker rule, because they're in an infinite loop of turning each other on and off. And essentially what would happen is they would both stay on, and all the squares nearby would be turned off, but they wouldn't have their ability, but everything would remain turned off, which is essentially what that silence thing I was just talking about said. They changed smokestacks to timestamps. So your smokestack comes into play turn 3. If I play my smokestacks next to yours turn 4, now my smokestacks will not do anything because it'll be canceled first. That's actually listed in as one of the examples. 2 smokestacks, that's one of the examples, and it explains it that way. But this timestamp thing, I get it, it makes sense. You know, most of them are order of precedence, but boy, I just worry about long games and people's memories and, you know, but you might, you know, certainly with a root spider, right? You get that out turn 3, you're going to know that thing as long as it's still around, you're probably going to know. But I just worry about, what if you get 3 root spiders on the board? There's 3 root spiders on the board, all with different timestamps. They're all yours. Oh my God. So now we're going to have to put markers. Root spider 1, root spider 2, root spider 3. Just so we know which root spider came in when. That's crazy. Maybe I'm wrong. You guys think I'm wrong? Think I'm wrong? Am I ranting over something I shouldn't be ranting over? I mean, I like it. I like the changes, but it is a lot of things to think about. So, okay. I don't see any other questions. Good. So that's my big concern, those effects. The tie. It's the tie. I typically accent with purple if I don't wear the purple shirt. So dry erase markers on the sleeves. You know, that may actually be what we have to resort to. Everyone's carrying around a dry erase marker. Root spider 1, root spider 2, so that, or maybe just write the turn number it came in on it, right? T3, T5. So the timestamp thing really drives me nuts, and I really worry about, especially top level play when I'm dealing with a best of 3, you know, of a top cut. And the game has gone long. And, you know, a lot of times with top cuts, they're not putting time limits. So that's another big thing, right? They're not putting time limits on those. Those games can go long. So that's me, all right? But we'll move on from that. Talk about something else. Other things in this wonderful little, man, I love this thing. I'm telling you, this Codex, you know, occasionally, I mean, look, we all give Eric's Curiosa, you know, trash. We all give them, you know, criticism. God, why can't I think? My brain just stopped. We all give them criticism for this reason or that reason. And but this is like, finally man, every now and then they can just nail something. And they nail it so well. And I really love this whole thing. The downloaded version is a problem. It is not working. I actually talked to Ira specifically about that. I'm like, dude, what's going on with the download version? He's like, work in progress, calm down. So that's it. So the download version, it is problematic. It's not good. I'm very hopeful that eventually the plan, and I don't know if they'll do this, is maybe to create some type of a PDF similar to the rule book. I don't know if that's feasible, but if it is, that's what I would like to see, kind of a nicer layout, because now it's just this text document. Okay, other fun things. Oversized units. Of all the units to not really mess with, the one thing I did like about the oversized unit change, their size is now a characteristic. And characteristics are not removed by silence. So there's no more of this, the mountain giant shrinks down to one site because he's silenced or any garbage like that. Boom, he's on his 4 sites, end of story. There's one exception to that, of course, because we have to have exceptions to everything. Mega Amoeba, his ability, because of the way it is, he will actually shrink, but he's the only one. So there's that. Oh, let's see here. They clarified cost. I thought that was very interesting, how you have the cost or an alternate cost like Eremos Mercenaries. Then you do the additions to the cost, like Maddening Bells. Then you do the subtracting from the cost. So if I were to try to play Eremos Mercenaries with its alternate cost, and there was a Maddening Bells out, my Eremos Mercenaries would actually end up costing 2. But if I had a stone, and that was my first fire spell of the turn, my Eremos Mercenaries would end up costing 1. So I would have to not only have that pay the alternate cost, but I also pay 1 mana because of how that works out. So that one is pretty interesting. Another big change, Zalem was thrilled by this one, and he had indicated in his video, which if you haven't seen Zalem's video, go check it out. He posted it. He doesn't post real often, but when he does, it's always very insightful. Zalem is a top-level player. I can't remember the name of his channel. If anyone remembers the name of his channel, drop it in the chat for me, please. Because his content is very, very insightful when he does drop it. And he has been allegedly petitioning for you and your to Let's Play Sorcery. Thank you. I'll get to your question here in a minute, Overpowered Ally. He has been petitioning for you and your to refer to the player. And that is a big deal for a number of avatars, Spark Mage especially, because basically now any spell cast by any of their spellcasters count towards their ability. So that is a very good change. Now there are some things though, like the Cerebus. I never can say it right. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, the big dog. That says you within the realm. So that one does still refer to your avatar. So again, we get to these wonky wordings and there's still issues. Remember, this game was never designed for what many of us, including myself, have tried to force it into. So there's still some things. So, okay. Overpowered Ally. If an oversized minion without submerge is 1/4, can it be killed with drown? No. So in order for an oversized minion to be drowned, it has to be all on water sites. That's kind of the big deal with that. So that is one of the big protections of being an oversized unit. If you kind of keep yourself on one portion of land and water, you can't be buried, you can't be drowned. So that's really nice. Oh man, Ruben was going to play in the New Zealand Discord? Yeah, that would be awesome. Well, if he's been busy with the Codex and building this thing, good. I mean, Ruben really did a good job on this, because right now I'm very impressed with the Codex. The only thing that it doesn't have at the moment that I'd really like to see, I would really enjoy if the Codex had a fixed table of contents. Now, the search function is very good, so that's probably not necessary. But other than that, and I think wanting the fixed table of contents is because I'm old. I'm old. I like tables of contents. I like to look where I need to go, and I just don't think, just search it, you idiot. So you just search it, you know? Oh, yeah, the drown thing changed now with the targeting of the one site. I don't think so, because generally that, and again, guys, there are some things I could get wrong. These rules are very fresh. I have read them as much as I can the past 2 days, but I'm not perfect. This is a lot to digest. There's a lot of changes. But in terms of the targeting one site thing, I think that's for the purposes of things where like they're actually, yes, I've used too many textbooks. You are exactly correct. But in terms of things like, I never can remember the card that lets you strike all minions at a site, it's for the purpose of those cards. So that's actually a huge nerf for oversized minions, because those cards you have to pick a spin attack. Thank you. I don't know. Every time I see that card, I want to say Furious Strikes, which doesn't even exist in the game. I just made up a name, and it has always stuck with me. Furious Strikes. Okay. Yeah, and internet service at Gen Con. That was kind of my one big concern. So land deed on large stuff, it is for the site, I think, but because with large, what's the new term? Oversized minions. When an oversized minion has an artifact, you have to tell which portion of it is holding that. So the land deed is going to be on a specific site. Now, with Mega Amoeba, it may be different because Mega Amoeba breaks all the rules. And I feel like someone had asked that question earlier in one of the chats, but I don't remember the answer. I'm sorry. But for the purposes of an oversized minion, I do think because it has to hold that one, I'm trying to remember the wording of land deed. Well, pull it up, right? That's what we're going to do. Pull it up. And I won't lie to you guys. I always use Curiosa to look up cards because I think there's too much nuance in the cards. So I like to be able to see the card in front of me to read its text, because just a subtle change of word, it can have a big impact. Well, let's see if I can pull up land deed here. Cooperate. Just so I can see the card. Bearer has you control this site. Yeah. So because of the way the carrying works, it should be there. That's what it should be. But I could, again, there's a lot of new stuff. Well, maybe, and there you go. Maybe it is. Because like I said, there's a lot of new stuff. I have not had time to digest it all, to memorize it all. And I just kind of wanted to talk about it and see what questions people had. Because if you guys give me questions, then I can start thinking about, okay, what would happen in that case if I don't know the answer right away. And so that helps me when I go to judge events. I'm going to go judge Gen Con. So if I already have that answer set back in my head and I've answered it before, it helps me a great deal. So if there's anything you guys think of, certainly go ahead, say it, and if I don't know, I will go look it up and figure it out. Let's see. All right, I believe the new fact, maybe it's the old one, says land deed will give it control on all sites. Oh my God. Is that the fact? Oh, okay. Well, I'm such an idiot. I had land deed pulled up and there's 3 facts right here. There we go. Mountain giants with land deeds are quite serious about the law. It grants the ability, so they kept that in. So, land deed grants its ability to its bearer and all sites occupied by the unit carrying the land deed. There it is, which means same thing for Mega Amoeba. That's a little scary. Granted, that's not a card that sees a lot of play, but still, it's something. All right, go back here so I can see the questions. Oh, there's X. I have no idea how you heard XP. I don't know how any of this works. I'm just making this up as we go, guys. You all know that. Okay. Something wrong with, all right, what's wrong with Pathfinder? Oh. Okay. Yeah. I mean, look, Pathfinder land destruction's doing pretty good. So I don't know that I'd say Pathfinder really needs some help. I think Pathfinder's got a real opportunity, especially once we get more cards in Gothic, and there could be more land destruction tucked away in there. I really think that we could see some actual good things happen with that. I don't know. Pudge. Pudge, right? He did not need improved. Pudge is a wonderful card, but he did not need to be improved. The fact that he's now improved, the fact that I can swap my Pudge and not have to use the projectile, which basically means impenetrable cops, which wasn't seeing a lot of play anyhow. Now that Pudge can just be swapped over to the avatar, you can just hit him. So impenetrable cops really got kind of hurt by that immobile thing and moving your Pudges around or anything that's immobile, really. The change to immobile affects so many cards. Quagmire, Bog. I played Bog. I liked it. People played Quagmire. I just don't think those cards are going to see play, or certainly a lot less. You know, preventing people from attacking your sites was very, very helpful. To not be able to do that, that's pretty rough. Oh, I don't know about this super chat thing. I think I actually have the ability to do that, but I have no idea how to turn it on. So maybe I can do the super chat thing at some point. That'd be fun. But yeah, I actually think, I'm pretty sure they told me I could do that. I just didn't opt into it. So that's something I'll have to figure out if we do this more often. Let's see. Can I include an avatar in my collection? You probably could, but there is not going to be any card that's going to let you fetch an avatar. So if they do make a card that lets you fetch an avatar, I guess it's fair game. Seems highly unlikely. I don't think they've specified what cards can be in that 10, so I think you could put 10 avatars in there if you really wanted to. But then, you know, that's the question. So, yeah. Entangle, yeah, just really got hosed. I will say they did make a clarification just before I came on. Who was it? One of Eric's people came on and said the rarity does apply to every part of your deck, including the collection. So there's none of this garbage with 5 divine healings. None of that's happening. That has been clarified. It's 3 divine healings. Now you could, and this is something when I filmed that video, guys, I filmed that video, I think 10 minutes after that announcement. Literally 10 minutes, the collection video. Filmed it 10 minutes after. Just went and just did it. So I didn't have time to fully talk about it. But because, and Bruce, you pointed this out to me, that the toolbox is basically common sense. It's common sense for every card, and that's amazing. So you could put, let's say you're using Silver Bullet, you could put 2 copies of an exceptional, say Pudge, in your deck, and then 2 copies of Silver Bullet in your deck, and a Pudge in your collection. So it's like you quasi have 4 opportunities to obtain a Pudge, to draw a Pudge. So thinking about that idea, that concept, collection's going to be used a lot, I think. The only big limitation is you got 10 cards. But think about that, right? Like any exceptional in the game, any exceptional, whatever exceptional you love the most. Koinixie, baby! CJ, if you're not on here, Koinixie! Think about that. I put 2 Koinixies in my deck. I put 2 Silver Bullets in my deck. I put a Koinixie in my collection. 4 chances to go get me a Koinixie. Pretty good. Real good. So collection's going to be used, and I think after Bruce pointed that out, and this was all Bruce, guys. This wasn't me. Bruce is the player. I'm just the guy that tries to memorize the rules. That I really think, yeah, people are going to abuse the crap out of that collection. Now, I will say there's probably going to be a unique that lets you go get an elite, but I don't think we're going to have anything that lets you go get uniques because the purpose of that is Eric's Curiosa. And I'm not sure that Eric is going to want to interfere with his king card. So collection may be tied to exceptionals and ordinaries and elites, but to get a unique, there may not be a way. Certainly not maybe in Gothic. That's just where I'm going with that. So, all right. What, man, people are talking here. Now I'm missing stuff. Good. Oh, Phantom Knight. You missed the TCE Dragon Lord. Yeah, that's tough. I didn't want to really dive into that. I made the whole video, but I will say you're not hosed completely. But it's going to be tough to get it now because, at least for the US, right? For the US, Team Covenant was kind of the way to get it, or you attend Gen Con or something like that, right? I'm going to be at Gen Con. I'm going to buy a second copy. I have a store local to me that has a copy maybe that I'm going to get. So I might end up with 3 copies. If that's the case, one of those I'm probably going to use for some type of prize, for a big event, especially if this ends up being as rare as it is. But you're not completely hosed. Right now, the weird stuff going on eBay, look, that's just people trying to get the FOMO to happen. So don't worry about that right now. Will you maybe pay more than $60? If it's this tight, you may. But hopefully not. I have talked to a couple of stores. They've said distributors are limiting them to 10. Now the question is, does that 10 get allocated? And they only get 4, or they only get 2. That's the big question. So I'm not pulling hard that the Dragon Lord thing, it's bad and it's not going to be good. We don't know how many Eric's Curiosa printed. We have no idea. They are going to attend a bunch of events, they've said. I don't know that they're actually physically going to be at Star City Games. Maybe they are. But the way Drew talked about how Star City actually staffs their events, what did that do? There we go. The way that they talked about that, I kind of thought, oh, so Eric's Curiosa may not actually physically be there. And if they are physically going to be there, then you'll be able to get Dragon Lord if you can get to a Star City event. So I think your best chance is to try to catch Eric's Curiosa at an event if you can't get it from a store. This is not ideal. Totally agree with everyone. I wanted this to be available at least through the calendar year, especially if we get Gothic in October. I thought through the calendar year was a reasonable amount of time. That may not be happening. And that would be unfortunate. You know, again, you guys all know, I think the game should be collectible. I think the card should have value. I'm okay with a few $100 uniques. You know, in 10 years, I'll probably be fine with a $5,000 unique. If Eric's Curiosa is $5,000, fine. That's 10 years from now, right? I'm okay with that. Some of you may not be. That's totally fine too. Lots of different opinions on that. But with Dragon Lord, I don't want this situation where for that 14 cards in December, people are paying $500. That would be ugly to me. And I really would not want that. Okay, let's see here. What else we got? All right. More elements? Stop that. Stop that, Brian. More elements? No, don't do that to me. I'm too old. 4 is as high as I can count. Oh, okay. Yeah, so Jeremy, Pudge was not allowed to attack before the newest rule set. That was not possible because he's a mobile, and a mobile used to prevent you from using the move and attack basic ability. So you couldn't attack. Oh, yeah, and Kel made a good point. If you silenced him, he could. All right, let's see. Oh, is that eBay sets up to 400 now? Someone I saw made the base bid at 380. Is someone bid it up a little bit? Well, that's not that is not ideal. Yeah, and cards that you would cast from your collection would end up in your cemetery. Yeah, that would definitely happen. Will there be ways to put cards from your collection? Stop it. Will there be ways to put cards from your collection back into your spell book? I mean, there's going to be recursion, so I would assume once a card's in your spell book, it's in your spell book. And if it drops into your cemetery and you can recur it somehow back into your spell book or back into your hand, I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be possible. That seems perfectly likely. Oh, good. Yeah, Eric said no about a new ally. I thought he did. I was pretty sure that he had said that at some point. Okay. Other stuff, rule stuff, the deck change. That's within that vein of what I do. So 5th or 60-30 with Gothic. They're waiting till Gothic. Thank the maker. I was worried they were going to do it to us at Gen Con. They're not. Thank God. So, going to be 60-30. I think the community overall is probably happy with that. I know some folks aren't. But hey, guys, we can have other formats. We can have 40-20. We can have 50-30 if we want. We could try something really weird. 50-30, 10 collection or 20 collection. Oh, no, I don't know. But really, right? So I am perfectly okay with going to 60-30. I think that's perfectly fine. And we're going to have these cool 10 cards in the collection. And given what I just talked about, I think the game's going to get very exciting. And the thing that I am starting to really think about is you've got to be intelligent to play sorcery. Like, if you're a really high-level competitive player, you've either got to have an analytical mind or just a lot of intelligence. Because, man, if now we're going to be thinking about, okay, when I draw my silver bullet, I could access this in my collection. Is that worthwhile to go get that? Is it, those are the things that you have to really think about now. And because of that, this game just, it requires so much thought. And so to really know it, to really learn it, you got to put a lot of time in. A lot. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sorcery is a great game, so put in the time. But given the demographic that likes sorcery, a lot of us don't have a lot of time. So there is that. The collector avatar, what are you doing? No, stop it. Your collection has doubled in size? What do you mean? Don't do that. Don't do that. Now, you could, the collector, instead of, it has a passive ability. Your collection is 15 cards. That I could see, right? That passive ability, it has the standard ability, and boom, its passive ability is your collection is 15 cards. That I like. Yes. Let's see. So the collection for draft, they did also clarify that. Everything you have is your collection. If you are in a limited event, your collection is every card. That's really awesome. So they did clarify that with the clarification that rarity matters. So in limited events, it could get really interesting. That, oh, you have access to every single card over there during the game? That's going to be nice. All right, you guys are just making comments now. There we go. So 60-30 and 10, I think that's great. Oh, it's not unfair. Hey, everybody's got to learn at some point. Everybody. All of us have to learn at some point. No, sample cards are not legal in the collection. Well, you stop it. The card has to be legal for tournament play. We're not having any, someone's going to try to show up with that. What was that? There was the Sketch Witch curio. Oh, I mean, okay, if you're playing casually, sure, your sample cards are legal in your collection, I guess. I don't know. Go ahead. Star Trek. Did you play Decipher Star Trek? I played that a little bit. That wasn't my game. Star Wars was mine. That was mine. Oh, that'd be cool. A sneak thief that lets you steal from their collection. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And like a Feast for Crows effect maybe. But boy, that would take some high-level thought just because you're going to have to name a card that's in there without seeing it. So that'd be interesting. Okay. No, Mike, you can't alpha cards with old rules. No, 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 no. So the cards, I mean, I'm presuming you can't use, the beta blink foil that has Blizzard's text and vice versa. Those are still not usable for play. That's not going to change. So, all right. Let's see what else have we got. There was so much news and so many things going on. New mechanics. No, I've got another list over here. Just see if there's anything else I want to talk about. I've kind of hit the rules thing. If there's any other rule stuff you guys want to talk about, just pop it in the chat and I'll talk about it. I don't think they actually did officially state that cards from your collection go into your cemetery, but you're going to cast it, so that's the only place it would go. Unless they add a whole new clarifying rule in the rule book when this happens that says cards from your collection when cast are banished when they leave the realm. But that doesn't sound very, they don't want to have that type of a rule in the game. That seems very unlikely to me. It's not what sorcery would do. Collection, nobody's going to know what your collection is. I'm assuming the collection is hidden because they even kind of explained it like that, right? It's those extra scrolls in your belt. Your opponent doesn't know what extra scrolls you got in your belt. So I'm going to assume that is a non-revealed thing for right now. Maybe they will make it revealed. Certainly in deck checks. But, I mean, you don't reveal your whole deck to your opponent. So, oh, man, we got someone that played Decipher's LOTR game. I was a writer at that time. I was one of their volunteers. They called them writers. So, yeah, I played that. All right. Will Dragon Lord have Void Walk? No, Dragon Lord is not going to have Void Walk. He can't have Void Walk. The rule is still in place that avatars cannot gain. They cannot leave the region other than the surface. They have to stay on the surface. That rule is still in play. So we're not doing anything fun with that. They do get airborne now. It was a big change. The reason I think they allowed airborne for avatars to gain airborne is because generally it's not something that has a lasting effect. So you would have to have something like a war horse with wings of invention, and the avatar is riding that war horse, and because the war horse now has airborne, the avatar gets to have airborne. So it takes a lot of cards to do that, whereas the effects that apply airborne to an avatar, almost every effect that applies airborne applies it to a minion. Now, maybe they're going to make some new cards in Gothic that let your minion gain airborne. They could definitely do that. I would be a little worried about them actually doing that. Because the argument of avatars always having to be on the surfaces, it prevents unfair advantage. I mean, if we had a place where avatars could be underground, that would make that region more relevant. But let's think about that in the idea of underwater. Nobody plays stuff with submerged, hardly at all, especially way back. So that's why they do that, for the fairness of being able to get that death blow on the avatar. The airborne thing, the fact that they can potentially gain it permanently, and the Dragon Lord will gain it permanently, or not permanently, no, he just gains the effect when you pay the 3, so he won't even have it permanently. All right. I think Gothic is definitely, in terms of a limited experience, I think it's going to be alpha beta. Maybe there won't be as much removal, but I think, it's just not going to be designed for that. And they actually said in the announcement today, this is their largest set to date. So we getting 425? We getting 450? 450 cards? 500? That'd be nice. Be crazy. But with 500 cards, I don't think it'll be 5. Let's say 450, 425. I hope they don't just be like, well, it's 406. Don't do that to us, guys. All right. Let's see. Anything I'm missing here? collection. They've committed. Yep. Yeah, I would agree, Charles. They've committed to avoiding best of three. They're just not. They're not probably going to be doing that. So. Oh, you think that? All right, Billy. You think players optimizing the deck to maximize collection, not the other way around? You think that's a bad design? I can see that take. And that was, again, not something I'd thought about, but I can see it, that you're optimizing it to get certain cards. You may look at your opponent's collection. That's good, Moose. Oh, let's see. Oh, something's wrong with my shirt. Oh, that's because it is hot. It is hot in here. I have my door closed so that my kids aren't making noise and racket, and you guys are listening to my kids. So, yeah, and the ventilation flow in my office is not fantastic. So, all right. Let's see. I think, okay, yeah. Good, yes. All right. Okay. We went 50 minutes. That's not too bad for first time. How many people? 42 people. That's awesome. I really didn't expect to get 10 people. So having 42 people, thanks for showing up, everyone. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Anything else you want to discuss or whatever? Yeah, you're hilarious, Kel. No, come on. No, I didn't review the cards yet. I haven't reviewed. I very briefly touched on the 3 they revealed today, tied to the collection that I think are very good. Silver Bullet, Toolbox, and Ersatz Plots. Is that Ersatz Plots? I think that was the name of it. Ersatz is interesting. Being able to put a site out, but it doesn't have any threshold. But it's very interesting that you can just put this site out and then it's always a danger to your opponent. What exceptional sites are lurking in your collection that could pop out there all of a sudden? It's a very interesting mechanic. I could certainly see, it could be something like a troll bridge. All of a sudden it's a troll bridge. They're not going to let you get a unique out there. It'd be hilarious if it was like, I'm going to make this site Vesuvius. But the idea that you can kind of lay that trap permanently onto the board and your opponent is always wondering, what could that become? Should I attack it? Should I go there? What could it be made into? And all the new sites we're going to get with Gothic, who knows what it could be? The hole to hell. Who knows what that'll do? I don't know. All right, if a Dragon Lord is in the void and the next turn loses Void Walk. So that's the thing. The Dragon Lord, he can't move into the void. He can't. So they left the rule in. Avatars cannot leave the surface. That's still there. The airborne, if you're airborne, you're still on the surface. You're not going to be able to burrow. You're not going to be able to submerge. You're not going to be able to go into the void. So that's not going to happen. Do takes on the new cards. All right, we can. Let me see here. Oh, you hate how they nerf stealth just for Morgana? Yeah, it was an interesting change. I don't know. Yeah, it was an interesting change. So I want to see that one a little bit more before I make a call. Oh yeah, Ersatz would be very good for placing like a Gnome Hollows. That would be a very, very cool play. Yeah, let's do the cards real quick. I've got another. Yeah, we'll go till 9. We'll do the other cards. There was the site that lets you play those townsfolk. The townfolk is a 1/2. This may be the point where we start to see some real weenie deck type stuff going on. So that'd be interesting. People using like border militias and guards, and those type of cards. And then, maybe with this, you can bring out these. But when I first saw those cards, I'm still like, because that site didn't have any threshold. So I was kind of like, I don't know about that. What else did we have here? There was the Hellhound card. The thing about the Hellhound card is it said you can bring in Hellhounds. Now, we've seen the Hellhounds card. But the thing is, what does Hellhounds mean? In the future, could we have vicious Hellhounds, angry Hellhounds? You know, if that card, which was very expensive, I think it was 7 mana, if that card would let you get, you know, some other type of Hellhound, that's what I do like about that these cards could become flexible in that way. And maybe there's 3 or 4 Hellhounds in Gothic. And then all of a sudden that card makes a whole lot more sense rather than letting you grab 2, 3 power minions that would have only cost you 6. So that would be very interesting if they could do something like that. I think that was it for those. Was there any other card? I feel like, oh, there was the card that lets you go grab a ghoul for 2 air threshold. Again, you know, I think that one did have air affinity. So it actually had threshold, that site. So I just wonder if those are actually going to go anywhere. You know, Erich Curiosa is very fond of keeping the very best cards hidden from us. So all of us had many expectations for Arthurian Legends, and they didn't happen. So everyone thought that there was some card right there, that card would destroy the game. And it didn't destroy the game. It didn't happen. So, all right, let's see here. Well, the stealth thing, other than spellcasting, how's that a nerf? It's a big nerf to Morgana, you know, because she loses stealth. And that means as soon as she casts her first spell of her 3, she doesn't have that evasion of stealth anymore. So you can potentially lose those 2 cards much more quickly. So if you end up with a couple of expensive cards in those 3 that you drew, you can't cast them all. Your opponent could kill your Morgana in the next turn after you cast one of the expensive ones, and then you lose 2 cards. So that would suck. All right. Dragon Lord hitting top 3 at upcoming tourneys. Gotta see those dragons. We gotta see the rest of the dragons. I mean, we don't know if the other 3 elemental ones do, that are hopefully going to be water, earth, and air. So that's really what's going to determine if Dragon Lord can do that. Again, in terms of the Dragon Lord itself, I think that card has a very bright future, because every set, if there's a dragon or 2, it's going to have new potential. So I think the Dragon Lord avatar itself has a bright future in the game. And the real question is, man, this availability issue that we seem to be seeing now. That's why I would hate for a card that has such a potential bright future to just not be something anyone can get their hands on. Or not get their hands on for, you know, something at a very obscene price. So that would be my big concern there. So you're going to throw in just a rocks into your collection? You should do that. Yeah, you should. That you know, that could actually make, well, no. You're going to have, man, 10 cards is tight. That's tight. You really got to think about that. So, yeah. All right, guys. I think that's it. It's almost 9 o'clock. I think this was a good first outing. Thank you to everyone that showed up and watched this. Maybe I'll do more. It just really depends. You know, I think this went well. So certainly I have incentive to do it again. And, you know, I'll look at times and stuff like that. So very happy. Yes, it was a personal time off today. So yes, it was. Yeah, it sure was. So thank you guys. Thank you for showing up. As always, keep on contesting the realm.